Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here, returning to you this afternoon time for an album review that I was requested to do for the paid requesting that I am finally on the last album, their current album, In Your Distress, Shackles and Shadows album review that I'm going to be reviewing for you guys this afternoon and letting you know my thoughts on all 12 tracks. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the 12 tracks, which I don't remember how long of an album it was, like 40 plus minutes or so, and let you know my thoughts on this record overall. So let's dive into this album review. Now it starts with Inside the Cell. This track is pretty good in its own way. I don't know, the vocals, I wasn't sure if I was feeling for it, the clean vocals, but they're fine for what they go for, and the track overall did have some good screams in this, so better production, I will say that, for this record. A lot more better production. But overall, I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5 for Inside the Cell. It's pretty good. It's not my personal favorite, but it's strong track to open the record. Forsaken is a pretty good song too. The vocals, I'm not sure if I like the screaming vocals, I'll say that. The clean vocals are hit and miss a little bit. They're good and they're iffy at times. Excuse my yawning, I'm still trying to wake up a bit. So 4.75 out of 5 for Forsaken. My Nemesis is a pretty good track in its own way. I do like the drum work in this, and the screams are the best thing, the highlights for the song, but the clean vocals are hit or miss too as well, so 4.75 out of 5. Deception was a pretty strong track. I'd give this a 4.75 out of 5. I personally found the guitar work to be strong, and the drum work, and some of the screams were pretty good, but it's just the clean vocals. Mostly through this whole record, the clean vocals have its quirky moments. Like, it does good, and then it just is average at best. So, I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5 for Deception. Lose Myself, sorry about the background noise, that's a dryer going off. It's probably going to do it again in a second. Lose Myself, pretty good track. Vocals for the clean vocals are kind of odd, meaning they're slightly cringy, but not in the worst way possible. It's in a good way. At least they're trying to improve with this album, and they did improve. I'll give them that. The first album was crap, but this one is probably at least good in its own way. So I will give you my rating for it at the end of it. But Lose Myself is getting a 4.75 out of 5. I like the scream vocals too. They're pretty strong. That's the highlight for most of this record. The screaming vocals are great. The unclean vocals are amazing. And off the bat, the clean vocals are mediocre. So they're not perfect, but they're good. Hold Me Now is a more of a new metal kind of melodic song in its own way, but I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I just personally felt this track didn't really offer too much, but it was good in its own way. I just think the vocals were hit or miss. Chains is one of my favorite tracks. I really enjoyed it, and I reviewed this track for a quick track review, so definitely go check out that quick track review. I think this track was pretty strong. Vocally, clean vocals were a lot better with this one. And unclean vocals were great. The screaming vocals and the drum work and guitar work was outstanding. So 5 out of 5. Voices is another favorite track that I enjoyed. I'd give this a 5 out of 5 too. I like the regular vocals, the clean vocals. The clean vocals through tracks 7 through 10 are probably the most outstanding part of the record. And that's what's going to bump up the rating a bit. So I'd give it a 5 out of 5 for voices. Really enjoyed this track, and very well executed song for how it sounds. The End of Adversity is a Pretty strong track too. Another great one that I enjoyed. I like the vocals in this track. Unclean and the clean vocals are great. So 5 out of 5 for this one. As hurts begin to fade. I don't know, this track was pretty strong for what it went for, so I'd give it a 5 out of 5 too. So one of the last favorite tracks for this record that I enjoyed. Even the 4.75 out of 5 tracks were pretty strong in its own way. But execution-wise, some of them had its flops. It's slight misses in a way. But still, 5 out of 5 for As Hurts Begin to Fade. Breaking Free is a pretty good track in its own way. I'm not sure if I feel for the clean vocals this one, but they're fine. They're tolerable for this track, and I did enjoy the screaming vocals, and the clean vocals were kind of hit or miss, but overall, execution-wise, this track performed pretty good in its own way. So, 4.75 out of 5. And finally, Leave It All Behind is a more mellower track, melodic, hard rock kind of song, or rock kind of song in a way, but it sounds good. So, this is a 4.75 out of 5 for the last track. I think vocally it sounds okay, and just with how it's ending the album, it ends the album alright. So this is a 4.75 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think In Your Distress's new record, Shackles and Shadows, I know it came out a few months ago, I think back in March, but I didn't review it till then, until this guy reached out to me, AJ, which shout out goes to him. He reached out to me to see if I could review it, and I told him I'd do it for paid requests. I wasn't going to charge him at first, but he just decided at the last minute to send me money for it, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad you've been enjoying my takes on what I think of it overall. So, this is a good record in its own way. It's not my personal favorite album, but it is a strong record. It's a better record, I will say that. It's probably a good record in its own way, and that's a good thing that I'm saying. So I did appreciate this record, and I enjoyed the evolution with how they sounded from their first album to now. It's a lot better. Better production, better mixing. Drum-wise, guitar-wise, it's a lot heavier. And it sounds pretty fresh, and it seems like they're trying to step it up in a newer direction with their music, and I hope that their third album turns out to be pretty good, because I definitely will be reviewing that when that is coming out. It may take them a little while, a couple of years, which is fine. Just if you have to drop singles, that's fine. And definitely recommend some other bands and artists, smaller bands, also newer bands, or bands I'm familiar with, to do a paid request for, and I'll do Marathon Studio album reviews for their music. So definitely hit me up with that. I'm open to that, and anyone that wants to do paid requests, Marathon Studio album reviews range from $2.50 to $5 for older albums from below the 2000s era, so like 1970s and up to the 1990s. But other than that, pretty much the next ones would be the 2000s to 2010s and so on and so forth. And that's like $5 to $7.50 I charge. And finally, the last ones would be the 2020 records, so $10 to $15. So that's kind of how it is with that range. It depends on what year it came out and what I'm going to charge for it. So basically, if I were to give this overall album a score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for In Your Distress, Shackles and Shadows. It's a good record. I highly recommend you check this one out more than the Art of Betrayal. Art of Betrayal, I only gave it a listen to see how it would sound. I was highly disappointed with that one. but at least this one was an improvement and a step in the right direction for the band In Your Distress. And I can't wait to see what their future holds for newer music later in the coming future or whatever, because I think they're going somewhere with their music, and that's a good thing. And it's good to support smaller bands that are trying to make it. And I appreciate you guys even checking out my YouTube channel too, because I'm trying to evolve with my YouTube channel as well. I used to sing a lot. I still sing as a hobby thing, but I just kind of do it as a hobby thing. But I also like to review music too, as a hobby thing too. But off the bat, this is a strong record. I highly recommend you check this record out more than the first album, in my opinion. But it's a better record, and better mixing, better production, and I was really impressed with this one. So 8 out of 10 for In Your Distress, Shackles and Shadows. Hopefully you enjoyed this album review today, and thanks for watching.